Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is Roger Daniel here. Here we are joining you here in this time of quarantine. The clan of Fiends, my good friends. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourself one by one?
So that is George Clooney with a beard, and I am Graph Angel One. I'm Graph Angel One. Jack Grimmett, nice to see you again.
Hey, you got Travis here for reporting live from the enemy planet. Happy to be with you guys again. This is the only exposure I get to the outside world these days, so I just have so much to share with you guys up to this moment each week.
Quarantine or not, right?
Exactly. Yeah, this is my normal life.
Yeah.
I was made for this. You guys adopted the darkness. I was born into it.
Even though we're in quarantine, I made Travis send me a bottle of his scent so I can forever have his man musk next to me. And
it didn't take much to make a whole bottle either. It was really.
You guys are actively collecting, the same as I. We all collect different things, and so. So I don't know, which one of you guys want to take it away as it relates
Travis.
to what? Yeah, Travis. Yeah. Let's see.
You're learning, Jack.
Yeah, no, look. I'll tell you what. I'll take it away because I think I have the least amount of things and the things that are of least interest to our viewing audience, perhaps. I went to Fry's Electronics. Well, they've thinned down significantly, like their movie selection. So I actually picked up some pretty cool titles at a really good price because they're discounting them. I think they're just kind of like trying to get rid of their stuff. But one of the first, I've never seen, I don't know if you guys ever seen Maniac Cop. I've never seen Maniac Cop. I've always wanted to see it, just some crazy like trilogy of films. They didn't have part one. I have ordered it, haven't received it in the mail yet, but they did have part two and part three.
Nice.
The Ring U, I don't know, I'm sure you guys, a lot of our American audiences are familiar with The Ring, but that movie was based off of the Japanese version of The Ring, which is Ring U, which is one of my all-time favorite horror movies, by the way. If you guys have not seen this, literally, this is the only horror movie that scares the crap out of me. Where I watch this, I can only watch this during the day. I cannot watch this during the night because it is that scary, but it's a fantastic film all around, just incredible. Ringu. But this is another pickup from Fry's. And then also I picked up Rise of Skywalker at Target, and I think this is my favorite. I think last time our first video we discussed Star Wars, but this is probably my favorite of this trilogy. So yeah, that's kind of been like my pickups. There's a couple things I'm expecting in the mail, but I think I'll get into that maybe a little bit later.
So you're showing us movies, and behind you is just a massive collection of 1/6 scale figures, and I think there is a lot of crossover there between movie buffs and especially horror movie buffs and 1/6 collectors. It's like those movies and the ultra realistic representations of the characters from those movies go hand in hand. For you, what came first, the love of movies or the love of toys?
That's a very good question. I'd say the love of movies. Around the time when the movie Maniacs, the McFarlane movie Maniacs came out, those are around my college years. And as I've stated in some of my previous videos, I remember hitting the comic stores. And one of my favorite movies was Escape from New York. And when McFarlane released their first Snake Plissken action figure, I was just totally like amazed. And, up until that time, nobody had seen an action figure of Snake Plissken, of Edward Scissorhands. And then, he started releasing horror icons like Freddy Krueger, Jason, Michael Myers, Leatherface.
Norman Bates was in that line. I have that one.
Exactly. And so I'd say that it was movies that ultimately got me into collecting action figures.
As an adult.
Yes, as an adult. So.
That is such a chicken and the egg question, though. I mean, because for me, it's almost the opposite. So I think I mentioned last time, Lockheed Kids. I was a kid who ran home to create my own worlds and play with my toys, right? And I was constantly directing. And basically I was directing these scenarios that I would take hours to set up with my vintage toys, right? And this was yesterday. No, this was back when I was little, right? And that's what sparked me to go into the movie industry. That's why I became an assistant director. That's why I started taking part in the actual filmmaking process, is because I loved creating little worlds. And what I realized is, like, it didn't matter how I was a part of it. I just wanted to dive into fantasy as much as possible.
But does that influence like what you collect now, Jack? Like does that influence at all like that sense of fantasy and world building and the potential for the story that exists within this piece of plastic? Does that impact at all what you buy currently? Like anything that you bought this week, does that apply?
Yeah, so I mean, like, the story making is huge, because Daniel's come and he's filmed the collection here. He's seen a lot of my stuff. I don't display like a lot of collectors do. I have pretty much all these play sets set up around the room where I'm staging different scenarios with my characters, and I'm even buying miniatures so they have food to eat. I'm creating these worlds still. All right. I am an old dude now, and I'm still playing with my toys, but I don't care, man. Like, all right, when I was a kid, I wanted the articulated Snarf, right? Because I didn't like that PVC, right? He was PVC, I think.
Yep.
Stand still, Snarf, or the Burger King cup holder Snarf, So I finally, now in my 30s, this week, have acquired an articulated Snarf. All right?
Finally, the story can be told.
I never had this dude before. I'm so stoked, man.
Yeah,
So
looks wonderful.
Of course, now he's gonna make it into the display, but the truth is, that means I have to change the display to make him fit. So I'm always world building, and I think this is what kids these days do with Minecraft.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it with tangibles, man. I'm still doing it. So yeah, I didn't mean to jump into my collection, but I got that Snarf this week. I picked up some more Marvel Legends. I told you last time that I had a pre-order out, and finally some are starting to trickle in. The Dark Beast has come, and let me try to not glare him. I don't know. He's hard to see. I'll show you the back. Dark Beast is pretty dope, dude.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about this a little bit, but that's all from the Age of Apocalypse storyline from X-Men in the what was that mid 90s 95 96.
Yeah, that was a mid-90s thing, and that
and
was
that impacted you, right? Like that was your X-Men story.
That was my dystopian future, man. That was it. That was, a lot of people had Days of Future Past, in the generation before me, which I love, but I don't know, man. Age of Apocalypse over and over. I still read it. I read it today, man. It's one of my go-tos, and I still listen to the same soundtrack, dude. I'm a creature of habit. I throw on Nine Inch Nails. I throw on the Crow soundtrack, and I read the Age of Apocalypse storyline over and over. Now, the one downfall is my Weapon X has come in today.
Oh, yeah.
I've been calling him Weapon Constipation because he's just, sometimes we don't need comic accurate, but this poor dude, man, he's passing a cantaloupe through a straw hole. Like, he's having a hard time.
Well,
And
the promo pic looks significantly better than the actual figure. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's like they really missed out on a great opportunity there. I mean, but
I'm
anyway,
probably gonna swap his head for another Wolverines.
yeah,
I
good
may
idea.
have one of the old Toy Biz versions of that character, his head, if you want me to look for it and see if that'll fit. It may not be the
That's
right scale.
It's probably an improvement. The good thing is when they all come in, I get to build Sugarman, and it's just like an obscure character that I don't know why I like him, but that's cool. Like, I don't know, I like the weird ones. That's why I'm friends with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait till hopefully next week. My birthday is on Tuesday. Yeah, self promotion. And
Oh, nice.
my godmother. Uh, my godmother, when I was little, got me Ace Duck. All right, and I still have
I
that.
didn't
Ace
even
Duck.
know he had wings.
Really?
Because I got a Lusso with no wings. But anyway.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
Ace Duck, and I don't know why I love him. I always did. She got me Ace Duck. I still have him now. She knew how to get a present. All right. My family doesn't always give presents, but when they like see something that is good for the person, we get it. And my aunt stumbled across Thundercats that I don't have. A Captain Cracker is apparently coming my way, a Safari Joe. There could be others, I don't know, but she was stoked, and she's been like hitting me up every day. She's like, have they come yet? Have the Thundercats come yet?
I can't
So
wait
excited.
I can't wait to see him. That's gonna be fantastic, man. It's
And those are figures I never had, dude. So like 30 years later, my aunt's still killing it with the birthday presents.
yeah. No, it's like, like I don't have a Bengali, but I'm thinking of buying a Tiger because Bengali is essentially a Tigra repaint.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna get a Tigra and I'm gonna repaint it to Bengali, but still, hopefully you get those
Are you gonna repaint old Tigra or young Tigra?
old Tigra, the one the actual one, the one that they kind of recast it to make the Bengali or whatever, but
Got it.
that's because right now, I mean, Bengali is just going for an astronomical price, and honestly, you could probably get that Tiger for like $20 or whatever, and that's not going to hurt to repaint them or whatever, and just make a Bengali. But it would be great to get a Palmyra. I'd love to see you get your Palmyra as well. And
Yeah,
if you want
it'll
a
happen.
driller, what was it?
Mhm.
A couple others, but I hope you get those. It's like I wish I would have been able to bring you along when I did the Joe Ledesma shoot, because he had I mean, he had all these, and he had them like packaged, and it was just like I'm telling you, it was like I couldn't believe it. It was almost like being next to the Declaration of Independence. It was like the equivalent. It was probably better, honestly, because I mean,
He had a collection, man. I
Yeah.
watched that video. He had a collection.
yeah, and
I
he
was stoked. I was stoked to meet Retro Toy Addict when we did that art show together, man. And to find out that Retro Toy Addict is also an assistant director on film sets.
yeah, that's right.
And we almost worked together a couple times, which was crazy.
Travis, I mean, what if I'm guessing you're gonna have a lot of pickups, but what if you
No,
in
not this week. Well, before we get to that though, like as you guys are talking, Jack, as you were mentioning some of these more obscure Thundercats characters, it was reminding me, and I'm curious if you guys have the same, like, I guess, does it have the same effect or do you have the same reaction? I realized recently I'd seen photos of the Astral Moat Monster, right? One of the rarer, I think, figures in the Thundercats line. And I have no specific memory of this toy. I'm sure we didn't own it. But I was looking at photos of it not too long ago, and suddenly I just had this like visceral memory like a touch memory. Like I knew, this is going to sound really weird, and bear with me. I knew what his feet felt like. Have you guys had that? Have you ever like stumbled, and this is kind of putting you on the spot to try and come up with something, but have you ever had that sense memory of a toy that you'd completely forgotten about, and then here 30 years later, you suddenly were like, I own that, or I have held that in my hands?
Daniel, I don't know about you. It's right next to me, which is why, like, not the astral moat monster. I wish, dude. To me, that's the chupacabra of Thundercats. I'm never gonna have it.
That's probably what a chupacabra looks like.
I heard it exists, but I don't know. But this is friggin' close, dude. And I don't know how I remembered this toy, but I randomly just friggin' I have two of them now. I remembered playing with this weird thing. I didn't know what to call it. And I got searching on eBay. I got digging deep. And it's the dissecting alien from Mad Scientist, dude. And his inside parts, it's a puzzle in there.
Yep.
And I have no idea where this entered my life, how I know about it, or why. And I love it.
But there was a memory for you. There was something that, like,
and
you were like, that fits a missing brain cell somewhere.
Dude, I was like, I don't even know where it came up. I was like kissing my wife one night or something, and I pushed her away, and I said, I need this toy. And she was like, you're an insane person. I said, I love you. And I went to eBay, and I found it. And I found not one, but two.
Well, I've got tons of stories like that. But I think the one that I guess the most recent, and it's interesting because I remember one time we're at a flea market, right? And my son, he's really, Daniel, very much into, as you guys may know, very much into Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
So we found a vendor, and he was selling like some Jurassic Park toys, and the vendor had like this kind of like neon green kind of T-Rex with like this crazy like color scheme, and we thought it was like some kind of custom or whatever, like but my son didn't care. It was like, I love dinosaurs, I love Jurassic Park. So we took it home, $5, right? So this was about, I'd say maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and we were living in an apartment in Torrance. So then when we were moving, my wife was just kind of downsizing, getting rid of stuff. So like her first thing was like, okay, I want to get rid of all of Daniel's toys, the more bulkier toys. First thing to go in the trash can was a bunch of my G.I. Joe vehicles that I had, and that dinosaur. And so it's interesting because now we've come to find out that dinosaur is probably one of the rarer dinosaurs in that Jurassic Park line. And it's funny because we always kind of like, because my wife, she just loves like, she's like a clean freak. She just loves like downsizing and things like that. And we always bring it up. Like one time we showed her how much it was going for. I think it was going for like $500 or something like that. And we showed her like, yeah, this is what costs us $500 or $5 at the flea market, and you threw away. And look at how much, we could have gotten for it now. And I remember like everything worked. I mean, the figure was in great condition, but also I remember well yeah, there was things like, for example, like the Mighty Crusaders. Like when we did the Travis, when you and I went to go visit Rich Mayrick, he had things that I had during my childhood that, like I said, I couldn't remember what they were, but then I saw that he had them, and I was like, I had that. And it was like the Mighty Crusaders, and also what were those things called? The Manglers or something? The Manglers?
Manglers.
Yeah. So
you pull them apart, and they're supposed to go back together, but they don't.
Yeah. So there's like this place that looks like a volcano, right?
The volcano. Yep.
Yeah, and you put your figure in there, and I don't remember exactly what it did to it, but that's kind of like a rare playset. And I had it as a child. I remember I found it, like in an abandoned apartment. So Travis, I mean, do you have like some pickups this week? Did you pick up any?
Yeah, I picked up just a few things. Cereal premiums and Disney stuff and whatever. And so I haven't even gone through it yet, but like Fred Flintstone and Homer, and so that's one thing that I'm looking for. I've probably got, like, the bag is heavy. It's probably like a 3-pound bag of PVC figures. So I'm excited to go through that. So a few things that I got in this week, and look, the thing that the three of us, we have very different collecting styles, but I think we're all kind of like, we run the gamut into what we collect, what we like to see on our shelves. So like, even within the course of 1 week, what I've picked up, it's not just one thing that I'm focused on. So I got an order in from the Disney store, and this just kind of illustrates, these three things I'm going to show you kind of illustrate how wide my collection is for different purposes. So one, the Disney Toy Box line, which is a very cartoony, nicely articulated line, ultimately aimed at kids, probably like 6 to 8 years old. They've been putting out some of like the classic Disney characters. So like, there was a nicely articulated Goofy and Donald 2-pack, but articulated at the elbow, at the shoulder, knees. I mean, it's got ankle joints. Look at, for crying out loud, like, that's crazy. And since I like to do toy photography and mash them up with other characters, I thought that's a nice little set to pick up. I showed 2 weeks ago for the Star Wars video, I'd gotten the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Pro Droid. The Disney store just did one of their elite die casts. So this is metal. This is a heavy boy. This is how I feel after like a good cookout. He's solid metal. Well, not solid, but mostly metal. He's got a base on a stand there. So the Black Series was a larger version, basically, of the Force Link one. And it's hard to fully show the scale difference between these two on camera. But so this is the Black Series one, all plastic. This is the Disney exclusive die-cast Elite one. They look similar until you flip them up this way. I'm gonna try to get them on camera here. And you can see the difference in the size there. I don't necessarily collect this line, but when I can find them for a good price, I pick them up. This was part of the Jasmine Toys Bone Brigade figures, which were military figures that were skeletons. They had kind of a traditional army line. So this guy's part of that, as you can see. He's got his beret on. I've got 2 others in this line, so I think I'm just missing one. And then there was a space line of astronauts, a series of 4 skeleton astronauts, and I do have all 4 of those because, of course, I love my skeleton astronauts, so why would I not? So those were my pickups this week. And again, you can kind of see the wide gamut of what collecting is to me.
After decades of peace, a new threat emerges, igniting a new war for animatron. From the deepest, darkest realms of the planet, the clan of Fiends surfaces in an effort to control animatron's natural resources. Tentaclaw is ready to grip and snap at his opponents, while Skull at Arms leads the way. As Retinoid observes the terrain, what the clan of Fiends fail to realize is that the forces of Animatron see it all. Retinoid uses his Iron Fist to disrupt the plans of his adversaries, but Skull at Arms strikes first. Retinoid acts swiftly by raising the Moonstar of Magwan, summoning his ally Wolfstar, the ultimate beast. Wolfstar pounces on his adversaries and swiftly neutralizes the threat. The planet of Animatron is safe once again. Join the fight for Animatron. Figures sold separately, only from Magwan.
If you guys follow any of us on Instagram, maybe you might have seen that we're currently working on some projects. Maybe not, because some of us share them, some of us not. so I've been hoarding all these like wrestling action figures, mainly because they're cheap, but at the same time, I've been really I've been watching a lot of classic wrestling, things like that, and it's just like the wrestling bug has kind of hit me. So these are some custom figures from the pro wrestling video game, which is the Amazon, and Starman, which I made basically out of some like figures that I bought for like $2 or $3. And pro wrestling, the game from NES, and it was just like a fun game, but these were like the two most interesting characters of that game. And it was like any person I ever played with, any of my friends, they were either picking Starman or the Amazon. These are two that I'm excited about. They're still a work in progress, and they're kind of based on this Japanese manga, Tiger Mask. I was inspired by that character, and this is going to be a tag team for a project that I'm working on that I'm really excited about. Hopefully, I'll be sharing more about that in the near future. But I'm basically creating my own wrestlers, honestly, I'm having a lot of fun with these wrestling action figures. They're just great templates for like custom action figures, whether it's wrestlers or fantasy action figures. I mean, and they're dirt cheap. I mean, you could go get like a new carded, nice wrestling action figure like for like about $5, $2-3 used, loose, or whatever. And so, and then this is also another like loose guy that I'm working on, and it's obviously he's kind of inspired by this Mexican wrestler known as El Vampiro Canadiense. And but yeah, I still haven't come up with a name, but it's obviously inspired by that guy. But also another thing that I finally mustered the courage to work on, because I finally got a pretty good idea, was my Puglu from the planet P that I purchased from Justin Ishmael, and that was at DCOM. But this is actually a character created by Adam Doherty, Creature Kid. Creature Kid created the character. He did a really awesome short film. I mean, this has become like this character has become like a cult like icon. I mean, a lot of people love him. I mean, he's just an incredible character. And yeah, and so Justin Ishmael went out and produced this vinyl, and I bought a blank because I wanted to paint my own. I had ideas, but and I had held on to them, and I finally kind of it took me a couple of months, but I really know now. I know the direction that I want to go with this, and it's really going to be a nice homage to like classic monster movies and things like that. And it's something that I'm very excited about, and I kind of can't wait to put together. So yeah, I did kind of take it apart just to see what the insides look like, and I'm gonna actually put some stuff in there. I'm not gonna go into detail as far as what I'm gonna put in there. It's gonna be a surprise. And like the eyes, I have plans to literally carve out the eyes and put some actual doll eyes in there, some nice acrylic eyes that are gonna look like really cool, which I've already bought from Hobby Lobby.
Jack, I think you're not even necessarily familiar with the source, but you're thinking about getting one of those, right?
100%, dude. As soon as I saw that, I had to hunt it out and figure out if I can buy one. Absolutely, I'm going to buy one. Also going to get a blank. Hope to customize it. My ideas are totally not in line with Daniel's, so I want to see the juxtaposition of our two final products. But I can't wait to have one.
Yeah. No, and like my initial idea was because I like the green, because Justin Ishmael, he at DCON he had the painted versions, and then he had the blank blues and the blank greens. And I got the green because my idea was to do sort of like a sour apple, kind of candy apple like version of it. But then I don't know, I like that, but I have a feeling that's an idea that maybe like 2 or 3 years down the line, I'm going to look at that figure and I'm going to be like, I wish I would have gone a different direction. And so, yeah, being a person who's really into like, horror films, creature films, like the golden age of cinema in general, I have a much better idea as it relates to what I do with it. Something where I am going to be able to look at it 10 years down the line and be like, man, that is awesome. And
Nice.
and so yeah, it's kind of like the direction I want to go. But yeah, I know we're kind of limited on time, so I don't want to get into all the other stuff. I mean, I have done a couple of illustrations, but if anybody wants to see that, they can just check the Magnificent World of Toys Instagram. I have posted a couple things on there, and they can see some of my illustrations. I did like a Power Girl illustration and stuff like that with markers. But yeah, like that's I guess that's about the gist. That's like the last couple of days of stuff. You know, and
Your
then,
marker work, by the way, is fantastic, dude. I am jealous. I've been drawing since I was a kid also, and your
Yeah.
marker work blows me away, dude.
Thank you. And it's funny because yeah, I actually learned I learned how to use marker by like, you know, because growing up in Compton, it was funny because I had the privilege of being kind of crossing paths with some pretty I'd say prolific graffiti artists who are still pretty active today, and many of them kind of took me under their wing because, you know, I remember I'd see them kind of like swapping black books and things like that, and it was just amazing, like some of the stuff, like I couldn't believe like what I was seeing, the stuff that these guys were doing with these markers. And it's funny because then when I found out the kind of markers they were, it's like these are like $3, $4 markers. I'm like, how can you afford those? Well, but yeah, it was just remarkable what these guys were able to do, and they kind of taught me a lot of these techniques. I mean, they would let me borrow some of their, like, I remember one time one guy just gave me a tote full of markers, and he said, hey, look, borrow these for about a week. Just do a little drawing, because they, you know, they took me under their wing because they knew, you know, I was good at drawing cartoon characters, stuff like that. They do the letters and be like, look, can you draw a Mr. Magoo right next to that picture? Or one of Ralph Bakshi's, like the Cheech Wizards or something like that, right next to this. And I'm like, okay, great. Yeah,
Jack, speaking of, you've got something there to show us in the graphic arts realm.
I think that's an amazing exit to my entrance. I started graffiti when I was like 12 years old, dude. Graph Angel 1 was my AOL screen name because of my tag back then. Like, I'm still rocking it today. So, and that's why I compliment these marker skills. Like, he really hit a level that is totally different from where I ever went with it. So this past weekend, my buddy hit me up, and a dude from my old like graffiti crew. We were JCS. We were just can't stop growing up, right? And my buddy hit me up from New York, and he's like, "Yo, let's have a graffiti off, man. We'll write some stuff. We'll see what we got." And we started writing, and like we got on paper, and we were throwing out a bunch of crap, but like nothing brag worthy. But immediately, I looked over at the Boglins that I showed you guys last video, and I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna do one of my spray paint designs, like my shirt, you know, like it's all spray paint on canvas, and then I jump in there with a paint marker." So I did a Boglin. I did that, and what was really cool is one of the first people to like it was Tim Clark. So like, I'm hoping to pull him into our fold and visit our show at some point. But like, it was cool to see somebody who the dude who created Boglins like actually respect the art that I'm now creating of it. Besides that, I've of course been working on some custom turtle figures and stuff, repaints, because I'm bored. We got Skeletor Jones in the house. We got obviously this was inspired by the Enemy Planet's Best Friends limited run that he did. I saw them. I wanted to buy them. I was broke and I didn't know what was happening with quarantine, so I got chickened out. The color scheme kicked me off to go home and make my Skeletor Jones. And it's Casey Jones and Skeletor, because why not? And then the one that I did just after that was, I'm an East Coast hip hop head. However, Tupac has always been one of the greatest in the world to me. I've always loved Pac. Always loved Usagi Yojimbo. So I made Chusagi Yojimbo. And uh, he's got his West Coast bandana on. His ears are pulled back. He's got his kanji tattoos and his Ronin on his belly. So it was fun. He's a little shredder. He's a shredder body and an Usagi head that I sculpted on a little bit. I was using the epoxy sculpt. I never used it before, so I wanted to give it a shot. And that's what I came up with.
How'd that go for you? That can be a tricky medium to work with. It's a little bit sticky.
You know what it was? I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to things because I'm still learning. So when it comes to sculpting toys and figuring things out, like I've got a dozen cast toys that I'm trying to learn the resin process with. And Travis, you and I have talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have all the tools yet. I don't have a pressure pot. I don't have anything like that. So I've got these like turtle trolls with bubbles in them and stuff, but I'm going through the process. And while I'm doing it, I'm meeting people like yourself. I'm meeting a lot of other artists who are helping me along the way. And the only reason I've ever dove into art, and this stems back to the early graffiti days, was to collaborate with artists. It's why I work in film. It's why I did graffiti art, is just to collaborate and learn and grow and see what I could do, push my limits a little bit. So epoxy sculpt, not a perfect sculpt. Was I 100% happy? No, but at the same time, I have a Tupac and Usagi Yojimbo figure, and nobody else does. Haha.
Just a quick fun fact. I learned about epoxy sculpt in Wizard magazine.
Really?
Yeah, and so I don't know if you guys remember, there used to be like the segment, and this was the pre-Toy Fair days.
Customizers corner.
The custom, remember they used to do the custom like contest, custom action figures. Well, there was one
Yes.
guy, and I don't remember his name, and I'm kicking myself for not having kept my Wizard magazines. But there was one guy who he was always winning the contest, and he was doing
I think it's Jin Saltomi.
Yeah,
Yes, 100%.
Thank you,
Well known
Travis.
in the customizer world these days.
Exactly, and that's what he would use. He would use epoxy sculpt.
What's pretty cool is that you mentioned Jin, and I brought up the Age of Apocalypse toys earlier. Jin was making those custom toys way back then.
Yeah.
And if you look at like the Sunfire design and stuff like that of the toys that are coming out, dude, they stole that from Jin, like 100%.
Wizard magazine is really right now something that I'm hoping that I could come across the full set, the complete run at a good price. If I do, I'm gonna buy it because, I've been watching a YouTube channel called I think it's called Comic Book Kayfabe.
Yep.
And they do these segments where they actually pull up an issue of Wizard magazine, and they dissect it. They go page by page, and it's like the coolest thing on earth. It's like the greatest thing on earth. And I'm like, I used to have this issue, and then it's funny because it brings back memories. But those magazines were so packed with like knowledge. I mean, you had Bart Sears doing Brutes and Babes, teaching you how to draw. And then you had like these guys doing these custom action figures. And that's where a lot of this, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of one of the things that kind of inspired me to create my own action figures.
Wizard magazine was maybe more important than the actual comics that were coming out.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
And we're all huge comic book heads. I feel like Wizard magazine was more definitive than any issue that like specifically came out, because Wizard highlighted the important ones and went deeper.
Yeah, exactly. So Travis, dude, I know you've been really busy. I guess I think you're probably a little more advanced as it relates to the resin arts as we are, because you really kind of
I'm still learning as well. Like
Yeah.
this is still new to me. I've been playing with resin only for, I think, just maybe about a year, just over a year. I picked up a pressure pot in November. So it's been about half a year that I've had that, and have been teaching myself, as I go. I've done some things that I'm pleased with, and I'm still not quite ready for my first like official release. I'm almost there. I'm just about ready with it, but I'm hoping to start joining those ranks of toy makers who have really become known for their resin releases. As a result, at any point I'm working on like half a dozen things at a time. But just like you guys, and Jack, you were saying a little bit, like there is this element of like perfectionism, like even within the realm of the bootlegger, the art bootleg toy, where things are not perfect. I keep struggling with that aspect of how good can I make this, and that keeps like pushing things back. I'll redo a mold just to work out a couple small kinks that I don't really care for, and so I did an early pre-release of these guys. This is my first release, called Best Friends Forever. It's a little skeleton astronaut and his faithful companion. I've been working on my color scheme, especially with the main figure here. So I've done a few different versions just about there. You can't see it in this video, but I actually used mica powder within the mold to kind of give him a shimmery, pearlescent white effect to his suit. So I think that's going to be the direction I'm going, with some different color highlights. So I made this at Easter. I made this like Easter weekend. It's a peep. Maybe it's kind of hard to tell, but it's a peep. And what I did was I embedded within clear resin some various organs and guts. You can actually see through the peep. This guy's molded and cast upside down, and I had put some various dark red spots of resin throughout to kind of give blood. But because of the slow set resin, it all kind of gravitated through gravity to the bottom. So he ended up with all this dark red at his head, which ended up hiding the brain and eyeballs that are actually embedded in there as well.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of gross, but it looks cool. I don't know.
Well, that was the intent.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't just do resin stuff. I'm working on some Marvel Legends customs of some characters that you otherwise won't see. They're not Marvel characters. I'm not going to show those, but I will show this guy. This is somebody who keeps coming onto my workbench and then going off my workbench. And so this is basically my idea of if 90s Playmates had done a robot monster figure. So he's got this, like, again, you can't see it just because the lights are blowing it all out, but he's got this atomic green and floating skull in his dome. He's got this gorilla body with these, and he remains all his articulation at this point. So these big metallic robotic arms. Here, we can take this off. Let's see if this helps at all. You can see a little bit of that guy. So anyway, so that's something else I'm working on. I need to finish painting him and then glue the dome on, and he's pretty much good to go. I really love this guy. It's just one of those things I wanted to work on just because I love the idea of Playmates doing kind of these vintage, B-movie. I think they would be a perfect matchup if Playmates did those B-movie monsters, Metaluna Mutant and all that stuff. Our friend of the channel, Mike at Toy Depot, you can find him on Instagram at toy.depot. He loaned me this vintage Thundercats playset head. It wasn't the Cat's Lair of the full-size figures, but there were these mini figures, and there was a Cat's Lair. And he loaned me the head to that playset, which I molded and cast. So I did this one in clear resin. It's a like an UV blue Ignite blue. And then I used UV resin tinted with different colors to do the mouth and the eyes and all that kind of stuff. So my plan is to start offering these in some different colorways that will look familiar to people. Without spoiling it, I'll say that I am going to do a Battle Cat version of this. I'm going to do a Ravage from Transformers version of this, and I'll offer those up for sale. On my Instagram, I did just hit, and this is a low number for you guys, and I'm sure many people following, I just hit 500 followers. To me, that's an amazing feat. I think I knew all of 10 of those people when I first started. So that's been a lot of organic growth for me. So just to celebrate that, I'm doing a giveaway of this see-through purple Panther version. So he's got the dark green at the base there, but that's going to be coming up in the following week. So when this posts on Monday, right about then is when I'll be putting this up as a giveaway with a little bit of a contest there, and that'll go to one of my followers.
Who prevails in the fight for Animatron? Who's brave enough to stand up to Real Krang and his minions as they threaten to disrupt the peace of Waste Mountain? From the depths arises Stoner with his invulnerable stone exterior and devastating hammer fist action. Yet Real Krang, with his quick instincts and powerful blasters, squash Stoner's feeble attempt. Mikey at Arms arrives with haste with his companion Battle Rat to avenge his fallen companion. Real Krang is caught by surprise. With the sweep of his tail, Battle Rat stifles Real Krang's evil plot. Once again, Animatron is safe, but for how long? Figures sold separately, some assembly required, from Magwatt.
Is there anybody in particular that recently, you've been looking at and whose work you've admired?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always hesitant to try and give a list because any list that I were to give would be just part of it. When it comes to the resin, bootleg art toy scene, again, any list would only be part of the people whose work I follow. But I have a number of people whose pieces I've picked up over the last couple years. The first one I'll show is, we've talked about this guy before. He was on our last episode with the Orb of Madness that I showed off. This is an X-ray Ram Man made by Scott Cherry, aka Barbarian Rage. This one, this is just one of those amazing things that I think no matter where you're coming from within the toy community, when you see this, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to know more about that. How was that made? How, where did the idea come from? Who made it? All that kind of stuff. So Scott's definitely a big one. I've got one here from Extra Truckestrial. This was a astronaut, like a Zen or Buddha astronaut figure that he had worked on with T. Flanagan art, painted in a like a cosmic kind of stardust kind of motif, and that just spoke to me with my love of all things spacey. My photos of this guy last year were among the most popular photos that I had for the year. So it's basically Kermit the Frog, but if Jim Henson's hand were operating as the head here, his arms and his head are all articulated. He just released a pre-order for a new version of this wearing a t-shirt. It's a little bit bigger, I think about there. So I've been sharing that just because so many people loved this figure, had questions about it, wanted to see more of it. And so he's opened up a pre-order for more of those. That's Emilio Subira. Again, we'll put the name there so you can look him up on Instagram. This was another one that he did that was just incredible concept. This is Blister. So nice. This is a blister card as a Masters figure. Again, arms are articulated there. You can see the sculpt. You know where that mold and that cast came from on the legs. Victor's vintage. He does just amazing little thing. This was a figure that he mashed up. Masters kind of KO style figures from the 80s. This was one that he did as well. This was an original 3D print sculpt that he did that was called Saturday Mornings, maybe, something like that. That was just all these cartoon characters mashed into one design. So you can see on the heads here, he's got the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, he's got Optimus Prime, he's holding a bowl of cereal and a spoon because that's what Saturday mornings were all about. One more, and then I promise I'll end it. This guy, he's almost on a completely different wavelength. Goes by Monster Forge. He's done some little sculpts. This was part of the OMFG minifigure Keshi style line. This was multi-skull. Monster Forge hand painted this one. It's just such a cool looking figure. So he does some amazing sculpts. But beyond that, what he does is every single week on Mondays, he drops anywhere from 5 to 10 original pieces. Sometimes they will be fully sculpted out of clay figures, that are just monsters and all that kind of thing. Other times it will be mashups of just figures that he's glued together and then painted. And he'll do these, so I've grabbed this guy. You can tell that's a Mauser head on a little skeleton warrior body. I think that was like $5, $10 on his Monday drop. I had to grab that. It was just so cool. And then this one went into my collection immediately because I've got all these eyeball characters. And this was an eyeball Masters of the Universe type character. This feels like a cast. I know what this piece in particular was, and it's definitely a different material than the original. So I think he did cast this one, but still, he's doing these as one-offs every single week. He's doing up to a dozen of these and dropping them every single Monday. Every single one's original. Every single one is unique, and it's just amazing what he's doing, and he just does it consistently. And that's something I think to admire and to aspire to, when I struggle to put out one release because I can't quite get it as perfect as I want, and he's putting out a dozen figures a week. It's amazing.
So it's funny how similar Travis's showcases were to what mine are going to be. Of course, Barbarian Rage shows up. We have the Beast Ball. If you don't have a Beast Ball by now, you're a sucker, dude. Just
you're
go
not
get
one
a
of the
Beast
cool
Ball.
kids.
Like you got to be down. It's like a Mad Ball. It's Beastman from Masters. It's even amazing how he was just like, nah, dude, I don't paint them anymore. It's too much work. You go paint it. And he told me how to paint it. Like, that in and of itself was amazing. I hope I'm going to say it right. Hemo Adventures. Am I saying it right?
Hemo, I think, is, yeah.
We've got Bones. All right?
Oh,
Bones.
love that figure.
He's doing the Ninja Turtle ones. And what I love, these cards are friggin' amazing. The figure itself is amazing. But what's awesome about the card is he doesn't seal it to where you can't pull it out. And I could play with this toy, dude. And I do play with it. It's beautiful. It's articulated. It's completely it's some sort of rubber where the arms kind of bounce. It's really cool, dude. He's got the magnetic articulations there. Super cool. I didn't stop at one. When he offered them, I also got Rotten Mike, which is zombie Michelangelo, essentially. And it comes with a cereal box type of mask on the back. Dude, I can't. I just can't, all right? This is what Ninja Turtles always were to me, and like what he's making them continue to be. I collect the newer lines, but he's keeping alive the older lines, which is very cool. And somebody who's doing something along the same track, but mashing up a little bit of pop culture for me, is Jumbo Nuggetron, who we are totally pulling on this show. We've got the MF Doom. You guys know that I'm a hip hop head. You've got MF Don. All right. It's Donatello as MF Doom. You've got Nuggetron's logo in the back, his character in the back. I've got a couple from him. You've got his Frankenberry Ninja Turtle based off of the Frankenstein Ninja Turtle, which is super cool. He hooked me up with this a while ago. I don't remember what the occasion was, but he definitely gave it a deal. And then this one I want to announce because NECA is releasing their own version of this. No, I think it's NECA. It's coming out in the Loot Crate. Are the Loot Crate ones NECA?
Yeah.
Okay, so NECA is doing a Shell Shock Turtle, right? Well, Nuggetron did that first, all right? And Nuggetron's lights up, all right? He's doing a Shell Shock Turtle from the Ninja Turtles video game, the arcade game, and it actually lights up, dude. So I don't think NECA's is going to light up. I mean, NECA's is awesome, but I don't think it's going to light up, just saying. But we don't have to go large scale with packaging all the time. My dude Sewer Vault Toys has got me praying on my turtle Buddha all the time, which is awesome. And he fits right into the custom sewer that I built a couple months ago. So some really good stuff there, man. These artists are the people who are keeping me going, and they're giving me a lot of advice along the way. They're showing me tutorials. I will always bow down when I see somebody putting their heart into their work.
You know, it's really hard not to talk about Scott, like Barbarian Rage, but one thing that I think a lot of people, I mean, I think it's sold out by now, but when these came out, I think a lot of people slept on them. They're kind of like the Gretchen Regan from the from Regan from The Exorcist.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing about this is that in a way this is okay. This is a squeezable toy, right? It has a cap. You know, it's hollow. You could put like slime or whatever in there. You squeeze it, and she spits out like this slime, right? But the interesting thing is that this is like soft vinyl. Now, what I'm getting at is that if Scott is making soft vinyl out of his garage, he may have just cracked the code as it relates to making like DIY like soft vinyl. Because from what I hear, Sofubi, soft vinyl, whatever, is pretty hard, complicated, and expensive to make. I'm a fan of The Exorcist. I'm a fan of Scott Terry, of Barbarian Rage work, but also, to me, this seemed like his first. This is like his first soft vinyl piece, and so whether he will admit it or know it or care, I mean, I don't know. But to me, that's. I mean, I put this with my soft vinyl stuff, and so I mean, it's just a really cool piece. It's about time that I mean, I think we've gone on long enough, but you know, it's an interesting subject, and we can certainly keep talking about customizers and art projects and things like that, and we could go on forever. But I mean, Jack, is there anything? We'll go to you, Jack, and then Travis, and then I'll close it. Jack, is there anything you'd like to add to I guess this episode? And I mean, anything else?
I have a lot of students who admire the work that I do, and I feel like a student to the people that I follow. And those people probably feel like students to the ones they follow. So let's consistently humble ourselves, be appreciative, and continue to inspire the next generation. I love art.
All right, Travis.
I'm going to throw everything Jack just said out the window. I'm going to move straight past humility and into self-promotion mode. Reminder, I'll be giving away this see-through Panther resin cast this coming week. So when this episode is up, if you don't already follow me, look for me on Instagram at The Enemy Planet. And make sure that you look for the contest that's going on there, and maybe you can take that home. And then you can talk about how I inspire you. I mean, like I said, I'm going to throw Jack's humility statement out the window and just pretend none of that ever happened. And yeah.
With that being said, guys, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you, my viewing audience, for joining us as well here on the Magnificent World of Toys. You know, right now this is about as much as we can do here on the Magnificent World of Toys, and I'm very grateful to Travis and Jack for basically taking time, you know, taking the time to actually join me and help me to produce this. And also, if you guys have suggestions as it relates to things you'd like to hear us discuss, or something else, you know, just let us know in the comments, or hit us up on Instagram. May those who play never gray. This is Roger Daniel from the Magnificent World of Toys. Who do we got?
Graph Angel 1 right here.
And you've got the Enemy Planet saying, stay fiendish.
Excellent. Grimly fiendish. All right. I just dated myself with the title of that song, by the way, but look it up. Anyway,